Hello there, my name is Anthony Barocas from StreamTech. Today, I'm going to give you an introduction to the YoloBox Ultra. This is going to be a general overview if you are new to the YoloBox and new to the YoloBox Ultra. I'm going to have some background, but this is not an in-depth usage tutorial. That'll come later. Right here on the table, I have the YoloBox Ultra. It is a tablet that fits in one hand. It has 4 HDMI inputs on the top. This allows you to directly connect your cameras with the lowest latency possible. It's not a wireless protocol. 4 connections right here. You have a HDMI output, so you can actually run your program or the entire interface screen to another monitor. And we're going to use that as part of this demo. You have hardwired Ethernet for connectivity. It also has built-in Wi-Fi. And on the bottom, it also has a SIM card slot. Now, you could use any one of these methods to connect to the internet for your live streaming. You don't have to connect to the internet to use this. You can also use it just to record, like I'm doing right now. One of the really cool features when you get into really using this for live streaming is you can actually add bonding service from YOLO Live, which will combine your Ethernet, your Wi-Fi, and your SIM card into one strong connection and have your data go out all 3 of those directions at the same time. It's not priority service. It's not any of that. It's using all 3 at the same time. And not just 3. You can add additional USB modems to the top of the YoloBox and get additional connections. Over here on the side, you've got 2 full-size USB-A connections. These can be used for a couple different things. You can plug in USB media to either record to or playback video from. You can connect a USB dongle in here to give you an additional HDMI connection. So now I've got 5 USB connections, maybe 6 USB connections. Or if we were talking about connecting multiple sources, I can take a USB dongle like this and plug that in, and now I've got another internet connection. Those are very useful. Additionally, on the bottom of the unit, there's a USB-C offering that same capability, in addition to the fact that you can take USB-C and carry it over to your computer and connect directly to Zoom, Teams, or any other online chat software that you want to use. Also on the bottom here is your power port. It's a 45-watt USB-C. So you have to make sure that you are outputting 45 watts of power into this to make sure you're going to power up the battery. And it's a big battery. It's going to take some time to charge up. There's also a line input and a mic input, 2 separate inputs, as well as a headphone output. Over here you can see an SD card slot. This again is for loading video and other content, logos, artwork, anything like that, PDFs. This is how you can get them into the YoloBox, and being internal, it also allows you to record internally to your SD card. There's a 1/4-20 thread on the bottom, and there's your power button. There's nothing on this side, and there's nothing on this side. There are some vents right here on the top because there is a fan inside circulating the air for the Snapdragon processor that does all of this processing. Now, let me turn this around and we will get started. Simply put, the YoloBox enables anyone to create finished videos using just this tablet and the touchscreen interface on top. On the left here, you're able to see all your different inputs. So you can switch between my main shot and the overhead shot, the main shot and the overhead shot. You can play a video. You can even create picture-in-picture videos, split videos, side-by-side, and all kinds of different multi-views. Let's create one. Let's do a side-by-side with me and the overhead view. Done. And then I can adjust the spacing. I can change the background, I can change the border thickness, change the border color. And then if you make a mistake in selecting them, you can even just tap and swap them. That's how simple using the YoloBox is. Next up, on the right here, you've got different types of titles. I've got a scrolling lower third. Let's change my background. You can see the text scrolling on the bottom here. I can put a title graphic for someone coming in with their name and who they're working for. I can add cool live graphics over top of it. You can do sports scoreboards. Here's a different type of lower third. There's a countdown timer. And these are all available right here, from image overlays, lower thirds, countdown timers, titles, web URL overlays, and social media overlays that come complete with the different types of social media icons built in. When making these titles, your show is not going to look like everybody else's because you're able to customize the media that's in the YoloBox. For instance, if I wanted to create a lower third, I can type lower third and then I get to choose between all these different versions. Now, let's just say I pick this one. Now, I can change the fonts of both the top and bottom. I can change the color of both the top and the bottom. I can change the sizing. I can change the offset. I can change the scale of the whole thing. And that way, you're able to differentiate your media from everybody else's without having to use a computer or any other graphics tool. You can, however, if you do have graphics coming from somewhere else, whether they be PNG or GIFs, you can bring them in and lay them over top of your video just like anything else. Next up on the right here, there's an audio mixer. So you can see I've got different inputs. If I want the audio from just this camera, I will turn on that audio. Now you see my audio meter up here moving. I can change the audio level. If I wanted to also play the audio from the video, turn that one on, and I can adjust how loud that one is compared to me. This way, if the audio with the video is very loud, I can bring it down so it's not louder than me, so that people watching the stream, if they set their level for my talking, the volume of the video is not going to come in super loud. You can also change your monitor level. So if you want to listen to it in headphones, you can set it so it's comfortable for you, different from the program that's actually being recorded and streamed. Talking about streaming, you can send to as many as 3 different destinations, what we call multicasting, with no additional cost, no additional hardware or software needed. You just come over here to your settings, and then you come down here to streaming mode, and you're going to use their multi-streaming service. It's included with the YoloBox. Got it? What the YoloBox is going to do is send out one stream to the internet at a particular data rate that you get to set using the codec you get to set. We'll get to those in a second. And that one stream is going to go to the cloud server and then be split out to 3 different destinations. So if you pick a 5 megabit stream, it's only going to send 5. But if you wanted to go to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, it's still only 5 because it's going to be split in the cloud because you're using YoloLive's multi-streaming servers. You're not sending 3 times 5. You're not uploading 15 megabits of data. You're only uploading 5 because you're using the cloud multi-streaming service. Next up, you can invite remote guests. Yes, just like Zoom or anything else, you can come over here and you can type in a guest's email, and without using a computer, they will come into here just like another camera input. And then when you call them up, they can be on the screen, you can be side by side, you can put them in a multi-view. It's as simple as that. Next up, there's a built-in scoreboard. So you can turn on the scoreboard display, you can position it however you want, but that's not all. There's scoreboard styling. You get to type in the game name, pick the fonts, pick the colors of one side, pick the colors of the other side. You get to add logos for each team on each side. You get to do all of this so that it really does fit the sport that you're working on. Next up is auto switching. What is auto switching? Auto switching is where the YoloBox will move between cameras without you having to touch it at all. Why would you want that? Well, if you're a craftsperson and you're doing something with your hands, let's just say you're making clay objects, pots and bowls. Well, your hands are busy. You can't keep reaching over to switch inputs. So what you can do is you can tell the YoloBox to switch between these 3 views. Front view, a top view, maybe a side view, and do it automatically. More importantly, after you select which ones you want in there, you can even include multi-views, you can tell it how long each of those views are going to be up. That's pretty handy. More importantly, You can say HDMI 1, the one that's looking at me, I want that one to come up more often, and I want it to stay on longer. So let's do that. We're going to say do this random, but when it comes up to HDMI 1, I want you to stay on there for 12 seconds. Done. And what it's going to do is it's going to go in a random order, but always come back to this camera. So I'm free to see a monitor or to keep this in my peripheral view, and I can see what I'm on and I can talk to people, and then when I see it go to another view, I can use my hands to demonstrate something, and I never have to touch it. Or let's just say you're a music DJ. You can have your hands busy on the turntables or whatever control surface you're using, talking, overhead, side view, all this cool stuff, and you never have to worry about touching it once you start the stream going. And what is the lifeblood of online streamed video? User comments. Well, right here, we have the ability to bring in user comments from whatever platform you're connected to, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. You're able to have those comments of the viewers come directly in here where you can see them, you can select them, and make them part of the show themselves. The YoloBox Ultra also differentiates itself from the rest of the YoloBox family by having some new and very capable recording and encoding capabilities. Let's look at those. Right over here, we got the record icon. Now, you can see I can record at any of these different settings. These are different than my encoding settings for streaming. So I can stream at 720p. Right here, I can stream at 720p, but record at 1080p. I can record at 2K. I can record at 4K. That is quite an advantage. Moreover, I can record ISO feeds or isolated input feeds. So whatever comes in from those cameras is recorded as well as the switched program with graphics and everything else. So that if I were to make a mistake in my live show switch, I can always go back to the original footage that I have in the recording as well. I can set the recording to be 30 all the way up to 60 frames per second. I can pick the bit rate. I can record in H.264, which is the most standard format right now, and H.265, which is a more efficient way of recording, but not as available worldwide, especially for streaming. There's recording limits. Recording limits tells the device how often it should break that into a new file. What this means is you're able to save off finished pieces every 10 minutes, and those files will remain intact. You finish the whole show without a problem. You're just going to have 10-minute files. You drop them in a timeline together, and you get the whole show back. Down here at the storage settings, you can pick whether you want the recording to go to the SD card or other portable storage plugged into the USB ports. Lastly, there's the bonding that I was talking about. Right here, you can see there's a section just for the network bonding. If you go to turn this on, bonding is a separate paid service. It's not included in this because there has to be a service at the opposite end that takes in all of this media coming in through your cellular network, your wired network, your Wi-Fi network. It's going to come in at different times in a different order. So while the YoloBox is going to take this, chop up those frames and send them in different orders like a card player at a table, that box is taking in all these things and it has to look at them and put them back in the proper order before sending it off to YouTube. That computer, that place that it exists, the power that it used, the cooling, the maintenance, the upkeep, all of that costs money. So bonding and the debonding service, as I call it, costs some money. But it can definitely save your show if you're in an area where the internet is not as reliable as being able to plug in an office. Some of the other settings that you're able to control is, do you want to click the switch? I personally prefer that, or double click the switch so that tapping it once doesn't switch. Makes it more deliberate. Next up is your local video switching. Do you want to continue playing when you switch off? Do you want it to jump back to the first frame and wait if you switch away from the video? Or do you just want it to pause where you left it there? Sometimes you might want different needs. I personally like to resume the first frame. So if I bring up a video and it starts playing, and if I cut away from it, it's going to jump back to 15 and wait there. Next up, local video play mode. Do you want it to loop, like when it reaches the end of the thing, or do you want it to stop at the last frame and just wait for you? Your video out settings are quite comprehensive in the Pro as well. If you turn on the program out, then you can choose 50 or 60 frames per second. You can use the USB-C for video out. It's basically another display port, or you can use the HDMI. You get to pick one, not both. And then you can also choose to flip horizontal. Very useful if you're going to go into a business chat application on a computer, you might want to flip the video. There's also NDI out. Now, NDI is a particular protocol that enables all kinds of hardware out in the internet. It's been around for about 10, 12 years now, that NDI devices like the OBSBot Tail Air, like the Mevo Start, these can put video out on the network. A standard TCP home or office local area network will all of a sudden be able to move video. You can even go wirelessly directly into the Ultra by turning on the hotspot and tethering in the device itself. So this becomes your wireless access point, sharing a cellular or local area network that way. So you don't even have to have wires to connect to NDI devices. NDI has an additional cost, but once you activate it on that particular device, it stays with it and is available for multiple inputs and your NDI output from the YoloBox Ultra itself. And there's your NDI out. You can change your video source transitions, like do you want it to fade to black, everything to fade to black? Do you want to cut, fade, wipe, and you can change the duration. Your stream encoding sections, different from your recording encoding, constant bitrate, constant quality, and variable bitrate. Your data, your frame rate, and whether you want to encode in H.264 or H.265. Again, your stream is different than your internal recording. For SD card management, it's just an easy way to look at the video clips that are there, and if you're done recording everything, you can select all those clips and then easily delete them. We covered the streaming mode, whether you're going to stream directly from the YoloBox to, say, YouTube, or whether you're going to use the multi-streaming service of YOLO Live. And lastly, the YoloBox even offers instant replay for sports. That has its own setting here where you can turn it on or off if you don't need it, how much time you want it to cache, what speed do you want it to play back at. I tend to find 0.75 to be pretty good. And then you can have the audio with that replay on or off, although I find playing slow motion audio not to be the best, so I'll turn that off. You can mute other sources during the replay. I leave that on so that there will be some audio while it plays, and then show a replay icon on the program so that people know they're seeing an instant replay. When it comes to inputs, the YoloBox Ultra is very flexible. Here you can see I have 4 inputs. I have 2 cameras right here and right here. I have my video input. I can add 1, 2, 3, 4 HDMIs. I can add 2 USB inputs or my USB-C. I've already used up local video 1. Here's local video 2. You can add a still image. Let's just add my business card. Done. You can add a PDF. Do I have a PDF on here? Probably not. You can add a live stream. This is a particular thing that is very interesting. If you had a second YoloBox, you could have it at a different location. Let's just say you're doing a concert event and you have 3 different stages. Each stage could be switching their own little stream. And then in the YoloBox, you could load that live stream. As it passes through YOLO Live servers, you're able to pluck it and bring it into this YoloBox right here. And you can select it and go to this stage, and then release it and go to that stage, and release it and go to the 3rd stage, as if you had them all connected. You don't. You're pulling them down from the cloud, but it's a really handy feature. Next up is the NDI that I was talking about. It lets you bring in a feed, and SRT, which is a very reliable way of bringing video in over the network with a very low latency. Down here are the multi-views that I was talking about, and there are a lot of them. There's a picture-in-picture video where you can be just anywhere over the video. There's the side-by-side, which is super easy to put a person and the thing. Change the size, change the background. Done. You can create a split view between me and that, and then you can change the separator angle, you can change the separator position, the border thickness. Done. You can create a 2 view, which is 2 full views, and then you're just changing the separator position like this, but it's 2 full screens, but they're both in boxes. Done. Add, we can do a news layout of this and this, say done. Oh, if I did that wrong, you can come down here and just say swap. Boom. And now we swap that. It leaves room for extra content like a lower third or titles. Put a background on there, done. Come over here, come down, 2 views, 3 views, done, done. Come down here, 3 views, 3 different layouts, and you can add more. Like there's 3 views, 1, 2, and 3, but if I did, there's different layouts here. So if I want to do 3 views, 3, I can do this, this, and this, done. But you see how they're laying it out differently. So you'll need to dig in, figure out what works for you, and figure out what works best for the show that you're creating. There's lots of capability in this box in order to make your show not look like anybody else's, but also be so easy to create and deliver what you're looking to deliver. And this way, when you're ready to switch your show, you're able to just jump between your inputs, add graphics, change inputs behind the graphics, take the graphics out, put a lower third up, change your graphics, change your layouts. It's super easy to learn, super simple to control. And then when you're ready to say go live, you just hit the go live button. When you're ready to record, you hit the record button. It's as simple as that. So this has been my overview of the YoloBox Ultra, a very easy to learn and easy to use multi-camera, live switching, streaming, and recording Android tablet. If you found this tutorial useful, share it. I would really appreciate the additional exposure. My name is Anthony Barocas for Stream Tech. Thanks for watching.